Today on the show, we're focusing on a health issue that affects thousands of women, yet is still surrounded by silence, fear, and misinformation. Cervical cancer is one of the most preventable and treatable cancers when detected early. But too many Nigerian women are still being diagnosed late, often because of limited access to screening, lack of awareness, or stigma around women's health. The reality is that cervical cancer doesn't just affect individuals. It impacts families, communities, and the healthcare system as a whole. In just a bit, we'll be talking about what cervical cancer is, the warning signs to look out for, the role of the HPV, and why screening and vaccination can save lives. We'll also look at the gaps in access and what needs to change to ensure more women get the information and care they deserve. It's an important conversation and one we believe every household should hear. Stay with us. This is Jasiri.
Two pivotal conversations every day on Jasiri. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is pushing back on some of the narratives surrounding the Makoko demolition, doubling down on issues of public safety, environmental discipline, and urban regulation. While signing the 2026 appropriation bill into law, he said he would leave no stone unturned to protect Lagosians. Governor Sanwo-Olu expressed strong disappointment over an incident at Tinkan Bridge in Lagos, Apapa, where some residents were seen scooping fuel from a fallen tanker. He described the act as a suicide mission, warning that such behavior puts lives at grave risk. Speaking frankly on indiscipline, particularly the indiscriminate dumping of refuse on the road medians, Governor Sanwo-Olu announced that stiffer penalties will be enforced this year. According to him, Loma has been instructed not just to arrest offenders, but to ensure that offenders are properly charged.
On the controversial Makoko demolition exercise, the governor maintained the government's actions were based on collective safety and not ulterior motives. He explained that the evacuation notices were issued more than 2 years ago to residents living within 150 to 250 meters of high-tension power lines, which violate safety regulations. Governor Sanwo-Olu clarified that the entire Makoko community was not demolished, but that shanties dangerously close to the high-tension wires and the Third Mainland Bridge were cleared to prevent disasters. The governor also alleged that some local and international NGOs opposing the exercise were doing so for personal or financial interest, stating that the government has evidence showing that some of these organizations received grants and resources but failed to deliver on their commitments, accusing them of, in quotes, shouting louder than the bereaved, end of quote. Sanwo-Olu stressed that Lagos cannot afford to be lawless or wait for tragedy before acting. So, despite the firm stance the governor said his administration remains compassionate, disclosing that affected residents would receive palliatives and relocation stipends, with instructions already given to local governments and the relevant ministries to provide additional support. Because according to him, the goal is simple: to ensure that everyone can live in a safe, clean, and secure Lagos.
Now, before we take reactions, let's quickly get a quote again from the governor and take a look at what he said. I found it interesting to hear him take on the NGOs. So, Governor Sanwo-Olu said a lot of people have built shanties under the high-tension wire, and the regulation is that you need to clear between 150 and 250 meters away from the high-tension wire. We are not demolishing the whole of Makoko. We are clearing the shanties so they do not get to the Third Mainland Bridge and stay behind the high tension. We are aware that there are some local and international NGOs that want to profit from this. We are studying things and we're going to show evidence. They have made so much money from international organizations and asked for so many grants and resources to go into those places. It is just for them to cover their own lies because they have not done what they said they were going to do. That is why they are all shouting and crying more than the bereaved. Let's take some reactions and then we'll talk about this. Lolo has a thing or two to say. If government effectively met citizens' basic needs, the role of NGOs would be minimal. Many NGOs exist not by choice, but as a response to the government failure. Their growth reflects collapsed systems and a broken social contract where aid replaces responsibility. Genuine charity is valuable, but care for citizens should be a government duty, not a substitute business for negligence. Well said. Okay, but don't just leave them stranded. I mean, what's the plan to relocate them? Safety is also ensuring that they have somewhere to lay their heads at night. Any plans to relocate them, Mr. Governor? Okay, do you have a relocation plan for them so they can properly be settled in another environment, or you're just trying to displace them and create another homeless situation again? Makoko is no longer a slum, but a money-making scheme bother for some NGOs and some, if not most, of the residents. This is misplaced sympathy. That place is an environmental disaster happening, and it sits on a fire outbreak time bomb. Nobody should be against its demolition. Listen with an open mind and you'll realize that he's not completely wrong. There are many people profiting from the Makoko situation. Now the real question is how they intend to provide relief for those affected and what they do with the place moving forward. I completely agree with you 100% that those NGOs are using them to cash out. But what's the solution? You don't demolish people's houses and leave them stranded under the sun and rains. The young and the old has family, and that's the only place they called home. My question is, what provision did you provide for them before the demolition? Ladies, so again, as we had our correspondent Igbalani Omani here yesterday, he talked about the fact that there were some reported deaths. I was coming on this morning and on radio, a correspondent for a radio station has spoken about the death of a 5-month-old baby and also a younger child as well in the course of the demolition. So I'm not saying they died due to it, but I'm saying, to be very specific, I'm saying they died in the course of the demolitions. We're not aware yet of the cause of the death. But this NGO thing was something we were talking about yesterday, and I remember the situation. They call it poverty porn, where you go to a place that is poverty-stricken or has a lot of poor people, and you're there and you do all these videos and pictures and how you're helping them and showing, and then it sort of becomes a cycle because they expect people to come and to pay them to be in these videos, to talk about how bad their life is, and you sort of encapsulate them in being part of the cycle over and over again.
I know on this particular one you feel as if I'm holding a brief for the governor, but I can tell you categorically that in Nigeria, this country, because impunity is allowed to last for so long, that people forget the illegality of the situation ab initio. That means from the very beginning. From the very beginning, who allocated these lands? Was it land allocated or water allocated? 19th
century, Lolo, you're asking about land allocation.
Whether you like it or not, the illegality of the space, the fact that people just occupy a space, does not mean that they have legal right to do that. Whether all of us, I'm not saying that there are not ulterior motives. Yes, I know NGOs have been benefiting so much. Do you want to know how many NGOs, different videos I've seen, different people talking about Makoko, how they need relief, how they need this, how they need that. And I've gone to this community myself to do NGO work, and I know how it looks as if nothing is changing. With all the NGOs that are said to be working in this particular place, you would think this shanty, look at the video
by now.
yourself.
It's the drone shots for me.
Yes, look at it yourself. This is disaster waiting to happen.
So for me,
I just want them, and I said it yesterday, and I will still stand on it. I said there is no way the government would not give notice to a place that the world is focusing as much as Makoko. So let's note, if the government is doing something right, sometimes we can't just be on the other side just because we want to be against the government. I think this is an environmental hazard, and they really need to clear the place. As long as they are not doing it for maybe ulterior motive or just to punish the people, in quotes. Some of these people alluded to it yesterday, that some of their leaders have moved away. So what are we saying?
And you know, that was backed up by the correspondent that I listened to today, that they had given, remember we said there are 6 communities, he said there's even 7 districts. It just looks like one massive area to us, but there are 7 distinct districts or communities or villages within this Makoko that you see. And so apparently notices have been given to their bales. Notices have been given to their leaders since 2 years ago, according to Governor Sanwo-Olu, which was backed up by that correspondent I was listening to this morning. And so again, it now gets to what was the plan. So there's one thing for you to flout notices, there's another thing for you to flout the plan. And that's what a lot of people are now asking the government. what is the relocation plan in this situation? And it's now that he says that he's sending, that he's made sure that all the relevant agencies and Kenya already, that should have been in place. But let's even be honest, even if that was in place, and even if 2 years ago they told these people move, they would not have moved.
Catherine,
they would not have
never
moved.
Be enough. We have seen
enough
how
is one thing. Would they have even moved?
We Nigerians sometimes we are like stubborn goats. If something like, look at the amount. Is this the first time we're talking about disaster in Lagos Island? Do you know the carnage and the fire devastation that has happened towards the end of the year?
You see, the thing is also that these people have been there since the 19th century. It's not easy to uproot them. I don't care how many
19th century, they were not this much.
Okay, good. But they have multiplied because apparently they are living among fertile grounds and fertile herbs and everything.
Is it fertile ground that be on water?
So we don't even need, they don't even need external sources. You don't need too much assistance to be pregnant. For me, is that the government cannot give 2 years and expect that 2 years is enough. That it's enough to warn them. You should know that these people, Niyi was here yesterday, and he said probably the Bales knew about it, but you didn't inform the lesser people. You didn't inform the
But that's the responsibility of having a Bale.
But that's the responsibility of having a Bale.
So you inform them, even if it's 2 years that you inform, it's not enough to upset people that have been living there for years, Lolo. 19th century is where? 19th
These
century
people are not from the 19th century. All the 19th centuries have died.
Yes, but
this one is more feeling from
but they are ancestral water.
Exactly, but these are people who are stemming from the original crop of people who moved there. So they consider it as home. They don't know anywhere else. In fact, they don't even know anywhere else to live. Niyi was saying that there has to be a mental shift. Even if you move them to land, even if you give them a place to, like children of Israel in the Bible, okay, make this your home now. That mentality, having lived there for so many years, is going to follow them all the way through. The state government should have been more intentional and more deliberate with this thing. Makoko has a lot of history. People have shot films about Makoko. You've used Makoko as location for shoots. NGOs, like you say, and I'm not surprised about that angle of NGOs, you know, making money and taking advantage of the fact that this, and they also have adapted to the fact that, oh, okay, these people are making money off of us. So any question you ask,
do you know, even as an NGO, to get into Makoko community, you have to pay the ladies.
That's what I'm saying. They've realized that it benefits them.
These people are not benefiting really. All these NGOs are using them to chop money. They are collecting large grants from international bodies, thinking they're going to build them schools. I have been to the school. We have contributed. We've done Christmas party there like twice in my NGO, and the school has been the same way
since then.
No,
I have not seen anything newly built.
Let me ask you a quick question. If a beggar that's on the streets of Lagos is begging and he gets 330,000 naira in one day, will you expect the beggar to get up and say, okay, now I have this one? The beggar is going to continue to beg more and enter the character of begging so he can make more. That's what's happening.
It's profitable.
That's the mentality that is at Makoko.
Because of the break, we're going to go on. The other thing that the governor spoke about, let's get the video from yesterday, because Lagosians, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
I saw that video yesterday and I couldn't just...
carrying diesel overturned. This thing was coming down like rain. It's the people that are carrying buckets on their head, standing directly under it.
So
you know, when we see this thing out, when we see this thing out of Lagos, people want to think that I want to Olaju, people that are not exposed. See Lagosians.
When it happened one time at Ikulu,
like this, all those people,
do you know what they're saying there? They're saying it's not my portion. It's not going to happen to me. It's not my portion. That's what they're saying.
See, personally, you know, I know somebody will say poverty. I do not believe that this
poverty.
All
you need to do is
poverty does not equal greed. Poverty does not equal stupidity. This is not poverty. This is greed and stupidity. Imagine, and then do not call on government and say, oh my God, government needs to do this. When you yourself should have prevented any... I don't know how God was watching these people yesterday.
I'm telling you.
I do not know how.
They were just so lucky.
You know how they say sometimes God watches babies and fools? This is a situation of God watching fools.
Because this is not the first time this is happening and something negative is happening around it. But these are people that are supposed to have sense.
But you sat down here and said it's a poverty mentality.
I've always
This is so. What would you say is the cause of this now?
They want to quickly make money. It's greed and stupidity.
Where does it come from? They want to go and make money.
It's a mentality. It's a poverty mentality. It's a mind. It's a mindset.
Why was it that it was not everybody in the vicinity?
So far as this thing will continue to happen, Lagosians, Nigerians, you will see them. If not this crop of people, the next crop of people will be there. To take what they call free fare, what God has blessed them with. They will go and give testimonies in church and say God has blessed, God bless them. Listen to their cry and bless them. Some people are going to sell this diesel to those who are using diesel vehicles or diesel generators. Some are going to use them to make money and put them in small kegs and stand on the road and hawk it. And they're saying that God has answered their prayers.
They didn't work for it.
So I understand, Governor, because I was listening to him. I understand the frustration I heard in his voice yesterday when he was talking about this Tin Can Island. It was almost a frustration of almost like incredulousness. Like, what am I seeing?
They did.
What were you doing?
Do you know that they're supposed to even cordon off that area because it's still very inflammable?
Yes.
Because it's all over the floor.
And inside, remember, if it goes into the gutter too, oil and water don't mix. So even if you drop a match, maybe if you drop a match today in the gutter, it can still, and you people are carrying buckets on your head like you want to go and get water. Oh, it's me that's supposed to go for a break. I was annoyed. I'm so sorry. Now, globally, cervical cancer is the 4th most common cancer in women, with hundreds of thousands diagnosed every year. Tragically, the highest number of deaths occurs in low and middle income countries, largely due to limited access to screening, vaccination, and timely treatment. But this is not a conversation rooted in fear. Rather, it's one about awareness, prevention, early detection, and access to care. After the break, we'll be joined by Dr. Chibuike Aigbe, Practical Manager for One Wellness Center. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Very interesting conversation we're about to have. Globally, cervical cancer is the 4th most common cancer affecting women. But here in Nigeria, the story is far more troubling. It is the 2nd most common cancer among women and one of the leading causes of cancer-related deaths among women between the ages of 15 and 44. What makes this especially heartbreaking is that cervical cancer is one of the most preventable cancers we know. It begins quietly when cells in the cervix begin to grow abnormally. In most cases, it is caused by a persistent infection with high-risk type of the human papillomavirus, HPV. The virus is so common that most sexually active people will encounter it at some point in their lives. With many HPV infections while many HPV infections resolve on their own, some don't. And when they don't, they can silently progress into precancerous changes and eventually cancer, often without obvious symptoms until the disease is advanced. Why are so many Nigerian women being diagnosed late? What needs to change to save more lives? To help us unpack this with clarity, science, and practical guidance, we are joined by Dr. Chibuike Aigbe, a medical doctor with over a decade of experience across public health, healthcare delivery, and clinical management. She is currently the practice manager at One Wellness Center, overseeing clinical quality policies and service delivery. Dr. Aigbe, welcome to Jasiri.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Pronounce your name again.
It's Chibuike. Chibuike.
Oh, Chibuike.
Yes.
Wow.
Chibuike. Yes.
The rest of Chibuike.
Yeah, I know Chibuike. But Chibuike.
So the name's unique to me, thanks to my parents.
Okay, I get it.
It's an acronym for Chim Ebuke, my God is great.
Oh,
fantastic.
Okay. Wow.
Okay, Doc. Thank you for making it to the show today. And we've had a lot of, we've had a lot of talk about the human papilloma virus, the HPV, and we've shared a basic idea of cervical cancer and what it is and how it can develop over time. So, but let's move beyond that. Many people still don't understand HPV, what it is and why it is so closely linked to cervical cancer. Can you please shed more light on that?
It's funny because, I mean, at least 80% of women who are sexually active will, get infected with HPV at some time, right? And because there's a lot of secrecy around health, health-related symptoms, illness-related symptoms, people don't really get to speak out. There's also the place of pure ignorance.
Yes.
You can't, and then the fact that Nigerians have very poor health-seeking behavior. So by the time they're, having symptoms, they're already late into the disease, and then nothing really comes out of it. So HPV is, in fact, cervical cancer. We want to thank God for cancer, because that is the #1 cancer that is almost preventable, but somehow we always still miss it. And that's because opportunities like this are only just coming up. I mean, the opportunity to talk about HPV and cervical cancer. So yes, a good one to you guys for bringing it up.
But I have that thing, we said it and you have now emphasized it, that around 80% of women, or not just women, people who are sexually active will come into contact with HPV sometime in their lifetime. So is it self-resolving or what?
Yes, about 80% of it, again, is self-resolving. So there are different types of the HPV virus, and only 2 are fingered in causing cervical cancer. Types 16 and 18, I believe. They're the ones that would progress into causing cervical cancer.
Okay, so what causes, you say, people who are sexually active? Like, how does that? Is it an effect of semen? Really, how does that work?
So it's an STD if you want to look at it. Yeah, it's an STD, and so with STDs, you know that they are being spread. The disease is being spread by sexual intercourse.
Okay, because we're about to be on.
Exactly.
Let's stay on topic. Okay, so Dr. Egbe, let's look at this now. One of the most dangerous things about cervical cancer is how quiet it can be very early on. So why do most women experience little or almost no symptoms at all in the early stages?
The first thing is that it takes a lot to brew. It takes a long time to brew, about 15 to 20 years.
Yeah?
Oh yes, oh yes. So for a woman to have, and that's why this gist about vaccinating girls have started, because for you to have the cervical cancer, you must have gotten infected 15 to 20 years prior.
Okay.
So that's one of the reasons. Another thing is the anatomy of the cervix. If we know how the cervix is, it's really up in there. It's inside the vagina, so it's really difficult to notice anything. If it was a bump on your skin, you would notice it. If you see a mole,
it's just like a cave. It's just
right up there. So before you get to notice any abnormalities, you're already seeing symptoms, and if you're seeing symptoms, you're already in the early disease stage. You're not in the preventive stage anymore. I think another reason could be the fact that the cervix has very poor pain receptors. Okay, so before you feel the body uses pain as an alarm mechanism and fever. So when there's pain, you know that there's an issue. So what if I pinch you now, you will move your hand because you have very high pain receptors on your skin. Unlike the cervix, right? If you pinch it, you might not really feel it until there's a lot of pressure. So
yes, pap smear.
No, calm down. We'll get to that. You see, this clinic shyness and fear will kill it today. So with the cervix, the pain receptors are not as active. So before you feel pain, say during intercourse,
something has entered deep in.
Exactly.
Wow.
And if I want to just throw a little more light, if you, in that type 16 and 18, they're like scissors, right? You kind of cut through the lining, the mucosal wall of the cervix. So before it breaks in, there has to be age, maybe persistent cutting, or a low immunity, maybe you have HIV or other immune dropping. Exactly. So that would actually now aggravate you to have symptoms and eventually get to cervical cancer.
Wow.
Okay. And this 15 to 20 year thing, I don't think I've heard it.
And
it makes a lot of sense now.
And that is why we need to speak more about this screening. So feeling well doesn't equate to being well. Right? So you feel well doesn't mean something is not brewing. So if you're able to do a pap smear every year, you can pick up abnormal cells. You can pick up that this HPV has been cutting through the cervix, and you can see abnormal cells. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I have to do one again this year.
When doctors sit with you like this, they just start to.
But it's also doctors that make it plain.
Yes. I say to you as it is, and they encourage that screening mentality in your head, because it's been quite a while I've done pap smear myself. So now, because of how hard or how to show symptoms, are there anything that you can notice, that you can even say, okay, I need to really get screened? Because some people say they've had only one sexual partner all their lives. And I've seen people still say they come down with some kind of cervical
Has that
cancer.
sexual partner only had
one partner?
One's partner.
So that
yeah.
Another thing is studies have shown that, you know, early coitus, so the earlier you have sex, the earlier the easier or more chance you have, you're more predisposed to having cervical cancer for many reasons, because you have more time for the HPV to work, quote unquote, and then if you have sex earlier, chances that you may have more partners, so you're more exposed. Another study shows that women who've had more than 3 successful pregnancies that carried pregnancies to term, you know, are higher risk.
Really?
Oh yes.
Why?
So because you have more cervical activity.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
You have more going on down there.
Yeah. Exactly. You know, so if there's another reason not to have too many kids.
Yeah, that's it.
If your first pregnancy is before 17, which also ties to coitus, right, you have a higher chance of developing cervical cancer. So symptoms that may show after, which I think that was your question, is there's pain in during sex, because I mean the cervix is irritated. The cervix is like a donut, right, and it's right up there. Okay, so if you hit it, it could bleed, right?
So
and
bleeding during or post sex.
So during sex, after sex, pain during sex, you know, pre or, you know, bleeding within your cycle. So, and that's why a lot of times people miss it, because you have things like common symptoms. You have spotting. Women spots. There are different reasons. People have PCOS. People
Even just stress, being sick sometimes, your cycle will just change. You're not even sure what's going on.
So it's easy to say, oh, it's stress, it's life, right? So you have spotting, you have increased discharge. So people might think it's stress, some people might think it's ovulation, right? Some people might think, oh, my period didn't finish. So you see a blood tinged.
Because there's always, we're kind of self-explanatory. There's always something. Maybe.
Right? But we should never forget to always check. Your abnormal shouldn't become normal, right?
Yes.
So if you're also postmenopausal and then you start to see your period.
Hey.
Some people even go and give testimony that I'm seeing my period again. Maybe they were looking for children. And they say, I'm seeing my period again. So that means I can have, meanwhile, it is cervical cancer that is showing you signs. So postmenopausal bleeding. And because you know that in Nigeria, I said over and over again, and I'm hoping that sometime it changes. And I see that it's changing, but I wish, you know, changes more rapid. We have very poor health-seeking behavior. Maybe for religion, for financial reasons. I mean, I had a driver before who said he'd never been to the hospital. He's a full-blown man.
And he gives a testimony that
he said, I've never gone to hospital, you know. And because that's why any small thing, he will go to a chemist or he will drink one concoction and things are brewing in there. Anyway, I digress. So because we have very poor health-seeking behaviors, you don't show up until it is very, very late.
It has gone deep. Let's take a break on this note, because in the true sense of it, cervical cancer should not be a death sentence. But we'll pick up on where prevention and early detection are, and then focus on what women can do to also protect themselves. This is Just Siri. Stay with us.
January is Cervical Cancer Awareness Month, a global initiative to educate about the human papilloma virus and cervical cancer, prevention through vaccination, regular pap smears, and early detection to ultimately reduce cases and work towards elimination. It highlights that cervical cancer is preventable, often caused by persistent HPV, and emphasizes early screening for better outcomes. Prevention and early detection are the true game changers in the fight against cervical cancer. Because according to the World Health Organization, routine screening and HPV vaccination could prevent the vast majority of cases. And when caught early, cervical cancer is one of the most treatable cancers. Our guest is a medical doctor with over a decade of experience in public health, healthcare delivery, and clinical management. Dr. Aigbe, is pap smear the only option available for screening? And how should women realistically be screened? We're talking about that before the break that brought us into this conversation.
So the HPV, the pap smear is the number one, is the gold standard for screening for HPV, because that's what's going to pick abnormal cells, right? But then there's also, especially for high-risk women, there's the HPV DNA test. We want to see if there's really HPV in there, okay?
Who is a high-risk
woman?
People who, like I'd mentioned, there's a history in
the family.
Okay. Your early
genetic, yes.
You have HIV or other
Or having many children?
Exactly, or having many children. So it's important. You could do that. So those are the two. But yes, pap smear is more accessible to everyone.
So pap smear is like a swab? Or?
Yes, it's a swab. So let me, just in case there's anybody with clinic fear, clinic shyness.
Yes, please.
A lot of people don't go to the hospital because they're shy. I didn't shave my legs. My pubic hair is like this. Better go.
Like that too.
Better go. Nobody's looking at your
Exactly.
future and how it looks. Once the doctor is done, don't cover your face. Once the doctor is done,
pap smears. I dislike it. It's very, it feels very
invasive,
impersonal.
Yeah.
I understand why it needs to be done, but I also
invasive,
wish not invasive. It just feels. Hello, your legs are on store up, yo.
but sometimes your legs are
too.
I know where she's going. Let me not go there. This daytime TV are but other times your legs are up. You're not invasive there.
Excuse me.
So let's do the one that is held.
What's that? The implement that they use?
Okay, so we have a speculum.
Has it not changed in how many years?
So let me tell you, in clinic, in our clinic, we use the plastic one.
Okay.
It's disposable, so it's sterile.
Yes.
It's softer on the skin.
It's just...
No, I've seen only the metal ones.
And that thing is nightmare. We're not trying to. We're being honest.
we're being honest.
All right, so let's look. There's a lot of fear around pap smear, which we've actually just gotten into.
Yeah, she asked something very important.
Okay.
And like, how do we make it accessible, right?
Yes, I
always speak health insurance. Okay. People say, if I'm not sick, why do I go to the hospital? But if you don't, that's why it's insurance. You're insured for unknown risks, right?
Yeah, but how big is health insurance these days?
We need to preach it more often. The NHS needs to step up, right? And even the private-owned insurance companies need to actually step up, okay? Because I think just about, I don't know what the current statistics is, but that's the last time I checked, it was about just 2% of Nigerians had health insurance and actively using it. Oh yes, it's really, really low. Okay, so that being said, it's important that for the few of us who can afford out-of-pocket treatment, we need to try tie our screenings to strategic times, like a birthday, New Year. Like I said, on January like this, you say New Year, New Me. I'll renew my car papers. I'll do a thorough health check. I'll check my liver, my kidneys, my cervix.
But some people are afraid to do that. Haven't you encountered people who are afraid to go for these tests just because they're not sure they want to really know what's going on there?
Because they know something is going on. They know either their lifestyle or possible predisposition. A lot of people, some people, not a lot, know I should look, but they just be like, if I'm not confronted with it, I don't have to deal with it. I don't have to face it.
They've been teaching us these things since nursery school. Prevention is better than cure.
But we heard it as a mantra, as a proverb. But how did we really put it into practice?
Right here,
how was it put into practice?
Telling us prevention is better than cure. Exactly.
Anyway, Dr. Igwe, this HP vaccine, it's still novel to a lot of Nigerians, honestly. They often describe it as a lifesaver. But there seems to still be a caution around the vaccine. A lot of myths have surrounded vaccines since COVID. Everybody's just afraid of vaccines. So why is there a widespread belief that HPV vaccine is only for young girls? Because I've known that even boys can take it, even though they don't have a cancer from it, but at least it can stop the transmission of it. So can you tell us a little more about this vaccines, so to say?
Okay, so first off, there's usually a fear around vaccine, and in Nigeria, Nigerians don't have faith in anything that the government or is into. So I heard you talking about Makoko, and you were saying, we're already fighting the government. We've not even heard them. We don't even know what. You understand? So that fear, that mistrust is there. Okay, that's one, and that's where I believe agencies like National Orientation Agency, that's what they're called, need to come in to encourage people to say, it's not only polio. Polio, I think we've even done a good job in eradicating it, okay? But then, cervical cancer is coming up. So we need to do a lot of awareness. And when opportunities like this come, I'm always happy to step in. Let me do my own quota, right? And when the vaccine did come out, it was only given to girls who had not had sex, before the sex. But now there are vaccines, there are different preparations that can be given people who are even currently sexually active, but of course do not have HPV
already.
So yes, so
Okay,
that's available.
What age are we looking at? I told them last year, my daughter took it. The school informed me that Lagos was doing it, and because I'd known about it, I think I took it as well. So I made sure I signed the permission form and she threw it.
The time I did, I took only one.
Yes, there were two. There was the time
I didn't get around to the second one.
So what is the age for girls and for boys? Because the issue also is, while boys don't get it, they can transmit it.
Yeah.
So you can also help your young boys to not be a transmitter. So what age is preferable for young boys and young girls, if their parents are thinking about it, for them to be able to get the vaccine? And then if somebody is older, already has sexual partners, how does that work as well?
No, let me before you answer, Doc, let me marry it with this question, because there's some people that would have missed the age where you take the vaccines, because like I said, everyone's busy, or probably just didn't have access,
Or didn't even know.
or didn't even know. So are there options? Is it ever too late to get the vaccine, and are there options for catch-up vaccination?
Okay, to answer the best question, I'll answer all your questions. What is the best question? The best time to take the vaccine is now, today. So your child after 10, from 10 your child can take the vaccine, and 10 till, so today.
One shot.
Yes.
And
so
that
there are different preparations.
okay.
There's a one shot only and there are two shots. So you need to find out which you're taking and get it done.
Okay. And that shot is meant to cover them for how long?
For life.
So there's no booster in this one?
No, there's no booster.
Okay.
So what makes them able to take one and take two?
And it's the preparation. It's the
preparation is based on where they are in life.
vaccine. No. I mean the medication, the vaccine. So it's which vaccine you're taking.
Okay.
There's some preparations that is just one. And
yeah.
that confers you for life. There's some that are two. So it's depending on what's available. But it's really not painful.
So let's talk about barriers to all of this. What are the biggest barriers when it comes to cervical cancer, even the vaccination? Are we talking cost, access? Is it stigma? Is it misinformation? What is it that keeps women from getting screened or vaccinated? Have you heard about myths or cultural beliefs about cervical cancer that continue to delay care or even discourage women from seeking help?
I think it's everything you've mentioned. It's all of the things you've said. So there's the fear.
Yeah.
There's the ignorance. There's the finance. Okay, people can afford it. And then there's the, have I talked about knowledge? Ignorance, right?
We're
So
getting
there's the
there.
ignorance, right? And then, so it's all of these things you've said in little pockets, right? The woman in my village doesn't know anything about it and is not willing because, I mean, she needs to go to the farm. It's not that one she's talking about. You know what I mean? So those things, so all these things, so there's religion as well. There's some religious sects who don't even take paracetamol.
Yeah.
Because they are faithing it. I'm Christian, by the way, but you get the gist. So all those things, and it's important that, like I said, awareness, National Orientation Agency, Ministry of Health, we need to keep on talking. We need to offer these things for free, make them give sweeteners around it, and incentives, to encourage people to get vaccinated and screened. That screening is very, very important because, like we said, it takes 15 to 20 years, and by the time you're seeing symptoms, things already spoiled.
So which is going to take us to the next question. What happens when you do start seeing symptoms? So for a woman who is possibly, but I want to say this because this is really interesting to me when we're looking into the background of this. No country has fully eradicated cervical cancer, but there are two countries who are making massive moves. Now, Sweden is on a historic mission to become the first country to eliminate cervical cancer as a public health problem, aiming for fewer than 4 new cases per 100,000 inhabitants annually. And now Sweden's strategy to eliminate cervical cancer by 2027, next year. People are ambitious. I love it. Encompasses HPV vaccinations for school-age children, free cervical screenings for women 23 to 70, and referral for treatment for those testing positive. And there's even a catch-up program that was launched in 2021 targeting girls born between 1994 and 1999 to bridge the vaccination gap. Then Australia aims to also eliminate it as a public health problem by 2035 due to successful HPV vaccination and screening programs, while other countries like Thailand and Rwanda continue to make significant progress. So when we look at the progress these countries are making, again, I'm so happy Rwanda is even on that list. It's not just outside of the continent.
Sweden seems to be at the edge of every cutting edge
Their leadership is
technology, everything.
So what lessons can we learn from these other countries, from what they're doing?
Oh, so I must say that Nigeria is also ambitious. At least we have a plan. We must have a plan first, right? And Nigeria has aligned with WHO to do a 90-70-90 program, where by 2030, 90% of girls under the age of 17 are screened. 70% of people who are diagnosed are receiving treatment. Okay, and 90% survival rates. Now I must tell you that
that's 4 years from now.
Yeah, we're there. At least we have a plan, like I said.
We have a plan. And are we getting regular updates as to how the progress is?
Unfortunately, the program starts this year, and we're just.
And they want to do all of this in 4 years.
Yes.
And they have 12+ million children out of school.
Trust.
I like how you say at least there's a plan.
Yes,
so let's take it as well.
I mean that alignment just launched in 2026. I mean, today's 19. Yeah, we're just starting.
Okay.
Let's have trust.
You should have come back to this table and explain.
And it's very important to mention that if cervical cancer is caught early, right, there's a 90% survival 5-year rate. Does that make sense? So
no, what's the 5-year?
If it's caught early and you start your treatment, you can at least win another 5 years of your life in 90% of the chances.
Okay.
That's quite interesting. One of the things that really scares people is, okay, you have been diagnosed. Yeah. So what treatment options are available, or how does the treatment, change depending on the stage and maybe the woman and the exposure? Because you said there are so many ways this thing can present.
So there's total and radical hysterectomy, where a woman's uterus is removed, including her cervix and all of that. So that's gone, right? And that's why we should catch it early.
And that's the extreme end of the solutions.
Yes. No, but you already have cancer.
So there's no point.
So we have to take it out.
Jesus.
Right? We have to take it out. So we'll take out your cervix, your uterus, and you really swallowed hard.
Yeah, I did. Wow.
So get that screening today what? Tuesday? It's early on in the week. You get it done this week.
After. That's like they focus.
So there's radiotherapy, there's chemotherapy, and there's a lot of psychotherapy that needs to go around, along with those treatments, because some women tie their femininity and their being to their cervix, their reproductive areas, their breasts. I unfortunately lost
intact.
Yes, I lost an auntie. That was years ago. I doubt she will make that decision now.
Today,
she made the decision not to take out her breasts because she felt she would be less of a woman, and she passed on sadly from breast cancer. So a lot of women are tied to, their femininity is tied to their parts of the reproductive system. So we can let that go if we need to survive.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you now that you talked about it, if it was, without breaching confidentiality, perhaps you could share a patient's journey through cervical cancer, early detection, and how that went, and timely support.
There's several, to be honest. If I can recall, you have women who, first and foremost, I haven't personally met anyone who has presented early.
Okay. Everyone you've met has presented late.
Wow.
And let that sink in. But I'm sure there are other doctors who have.
Yes.
Chibuki, I haven't met anyone who's presented early. So the prognosis is not the greatest. Okay, and it's harder to treat because sometimes, because it's presenting late, it's metastasized to other parts of the body, the ovaries, your lungs, your spine, your kidneys, so it's like I said, it's important that we screen early. The pap smear, like I said, will pick abnormal cells. It will show like something is brewing up, and that can now be treated.
How do you treat abnormal cells that have not yet developed into cancer?
So there are medications that will be given, and then you'll be
regularly
checked more regularly than the other person. So you can get away. So even though we say yes every year, you can get away with every 2 years or every 3 years, even though you're a woman who's sexually active. Right? But if you are already screened with abnormal cervical cells, you will be screened. It's your responsibility.
So finally on this, it's a good thing you talked about the government's 90-70-90 plan, right? What are the policy shifts or the public health strategies that we urgently need if we're going to be able to reduce cervical cancer deaths. And the way we've been having this conversation, it may seem like people don't die from it, but women die from cervical cancer. And those are families losing sisters, mothers, wives, daughters, friends and family losing loved ones. So while there is it's preventable, it's curable. If you get it and you present late, like Dr. Egbe is saying, death is on the horizon. So let it not be like because I don't think we really focus on the fact that women that women do die from cervical cancer. So what are the policy shifts? What are the public health strategies? And I think that, okay, answer it then. Answer my own.
So I think that there's more room for awareness. I've said that in more ways than one. Awareness. The government needs to go more granular, more grassroots, give free vaccinations. The way we're able to, I think we've done really, really well. I don't know what the numbers are, but I would say that we have eradicated polio. In fact, all my life, I haven't seen any polio patients. Okay, the ones that I saw growing up were the people who were infected before, but I haven't seen any fresh polio infection. So I think we've done well to eradicate that, and that's because a lot of grassroots sensitization, a lot of free vaccinations was going on, and we can do that for cervical cancer, which I think is plaguing us really seriously. It's the second most common cancer after breast cancer in Nigeria. So it's important that the government needs to make more noise. We need to give out more, encourage people, okay, because of that fear. Like I said, there's no trust. And it's not just a Nigeria thing. I mean, we have different stories on trust on vaccination worldwide, but in Nigeria, it's even more particular. So yes, those things need to be done. So we need to encourage the NHIs to get on board with enrolling people on health insurance and making sure they use it. Because even if you're not ill, you can have screenings. You can do a general health check.
Yes, absolutely.
At least once a year.
So what, for me, it's something the ladies know I'm very passionate about. Where is sexual and reproductive health education in this alignment and a plan for this? Because we also need to educate our young people about sex, about sexual partners, about STDs. We need to have that education for them so at the back of their mind they know they're responsible and they're able to make informed decisions.
Churches, schools need to get
on board. They need to get on board.
They need to get on board, and the ones on board need to get louder. And let me just chip this in. I believe that women should carry their condoms. Very debatable, but it is sexual responsibility.
No one should come and tell you it's not my size or that.
If you have your own condom, you are not sure. You're sure that it's available. You're sure it's not tampered. You know that you're not going to get an STI. It is your responsibility. I mean, we buy our makeup, we buy our sanitary,
our supplements,
our skincare. We buy your condoms. I mean, buy your condoms and have them with you.
All right. That brings us to the end of a very important and very interesting conversation this morning. Of course, our guest has really emphasized for us the importance of what we're doing when it comes to January being Cervical Cancer Month. A very big thank you to Dr. Chibuike Aigbe for sharing her expertise, clarity, and practical insight. Now, today's discussion is a powerful reminder that cervical cancer is largely preventable and highly treatable when detected early. Awareness, screening, vaccination, and support can mean the difference between life and loss. And breaking the silence around women's health is not optional, it's urgent. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, take action where you can, and we'll be back tomorrow with more conversations and voices that matter right here on Just Series. Bye for now.